Well, you guys, I made it. Rock bottom. I think what some people have to realize is sometimes life gets you down, and then you get busy. This has led me to create a brand new series, part of Liam Does Stuff Phase X, entitled PROFUSE TORMENT! I am so incredibly happy to get started with episode 1, so please, enjoy. Reassurance for Mr. Villeneuve. I didn't watch Dune on my fucking television. Get real. Dune, a movie so big you have to project it onto a big old baseball ass. The only exposure I have to Dune doesn't come from the book. As a, I guess, Lynch head, it's my duty to sit through all that the guy has got, even in his mind, his big failure, Dune 1984.
That's my one, in my mind, big failure. Dune took 3 years to make, start to finish. But it was a nightmare, and it was a nightmare.
I always say Dune is a huge, gigantic sadness in my life.
It wouldn't be fair to say it was a total nightmare, but maybe 75% nightmare.
I didn't have final cut on that film.
Because I did not have final cut on that film.
And the reason is I didn't have final cut.
Can I ask you why you consider Dune a disappointment?
Dune, I didn't have final cut on.
Die the death. Die the death. And died I did.
I sold out. It was a slow dying the death and a terrible, terrible experience.
Do you regret making it?
Yes.
Of course!
It hurt it. It hurt it.
Final cut is extremely important. If you don't have it, the movie is not yours, plain and simple. However, I do think that David Lynch is very excessively hard on himself when it comes to Dune. It's really not a total failure, in my opinion. Once again, I haven't read the book, so I'm not privy to all of the vast little intricacies of the source material, but I can get a good grip on the big picture. And David Lynch, for all that is wrong with his Dune, it's very ambitious, and there's about 45% of it that shines. I think the weakest part of Lynch's Dune is the strong reversal of the phrase, show, don't tell, present throughout. For a story that's chock full of poetic language, why are there so many voiceovers in place of obvious conveying through the body? Denis Villeneuve's Dune, I can happily say, is an improvement. Denis Villeneuve has always been good at creating monumental and breathtaking images. His worlds stretch far and wide, and when they don't, they're close and intimately exciting, but that's not much if you feel nothing. So how does Dune roll with its characters? Our protagonist, Paul Atreides, portrayed this time around by modded controller 360,
What's good, YouTube?
is a bit of a farther cry from Cale MacLachlan's doe-eyed Luke Skywalker type hero. He's more reserved, he's more brooding, he's more mysterious, and behind his vacuous teenage weed zombie eyes, there is character to grasp onto, believe it or not. The only characters that don't have much to do, unfortunately, are Zendaya and Dave Bautista's characters. Zendaya is in the movie for a whopping 7 minutes. Sorry, Twitter! Overall, the characters show promise, and while a cast full of A-listers wasn't my idealized vision of what the movie would look like, the performances are good. There were some moments of hokiness that I think could have been worked on to prevent those moments from feeling like a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie or something. The words, "remember your training," are said. The voice is basically the ability to do a Jedi mind trick. And yes, I know Dune came before Star Wars, but my point is that there is a bit of fear in deviating from the periodical context in which the material was written, perhaps? What's really left? Well, Denis, I really like you and respect your great work as a director, but the production design of Lynch's Dune is just better. I'm sorry. What? I'm not referring to the photorealistic authenticity of the special effects. Your team has far outdone themselves there. I'm talking the literal design of everything. The ships, the rooms, the costumes, the visual imagination is pretty lacking, I'm afraid. The dragonfly choppers were cool, but everything else? To be honest, it looked pretty boring. I think the hokier parts and the allegiance to the periodic context in which the book was written could have been lessened, but the picture frame and couch-looking ship interiors, the lime greens, the 3D transparent box force fields, yes, I went there, the Minecraft force fields, all of those are far more interesting and exciting than what's in here. Maybe the puppy is a bit much, but the ethereal, colorful space look being almost entirely erased left me a bit starved. I think this is a good film, don't get the wrong idea. I'm going to give it a 7 for now, and it could go up upon rewatch or seeing part 2 when that comes out. Titane is a film directed by Julia Ducournau. Yes, that's how it's pronounced. Titane. I looked it up.
We are looking at how to pronounce this word. How do you say it correctly? What is the correct pronunciation for it? Titane. Titane. Pretty straightforward once you know. Titane. And now you know.
Mrs. Ducournau has quite the eye for the grotesque with her films, it seems. I consider myself to be numb and indifferent to gore mostly. Rarely do I get squeamish towards blood and bones, but Julia cherry-picks violent scenarios and sensations that are like taboo and they're not often shown. But she also has power over her audience with her visual style. She's very keen on her color palettes, and they are more often than not thematically and subtextually purposeful. So, is the Palme d'Or winning critical success Titane really as groundbreaking and genius as everyone says? Well, I can't speak for everyone. I'm gonna be fucking crucified for this, but I really wasn't that into this movie. My qualms with it are similar to the qualms I had with Julia's previous film, Raw. Much like Raw, Titane plays out like more of a manifesto than a story. The allegories, metaphors, commentary, I can definitely see them in both films, not getting into spoilers. But it frustrates me that these ideas aren't explored to their full potential because the screenplay is distracted. One of Julia's biggest strengths as a filmmaker becomes a weakness when she approaches her agendas and critiques of society and comparisons and what have you with the same brash and reckless tone of her boundary-exceeding hangnail violence. Titane is a human drama film about gender identity and unconditional love that is completely swamped by lazy metaphors sprinkled on violence with weak thematic significance. There is very little humanity to grasp onto, even though humanity plays such an important part in the story, and that's because the protagonist, Alexia, is just a complete psychopath. It's both in essence a slasher movie with a pinch of Cronenberg and a tender exercise in confiding in something when you have nothing. Both tones are competently directed visually and well acted, but for me at least, I cared far more about the human drama than the gore, and when they were meshed together, it made for a sour experience. It felt like a bunch of relevant social and political issues put in a blender, and the messy slop that came out is compensated for by shock value, really good acting, and good technical aspects. While Raw felt a bit more purposeful and connective, Titane seems to just be all over the place, and it shot itself in the foot because of it. There are scenes that kind of act as neat vignettes, like something for a short film, but just, I feel sort of ugly right now because Julia does have some serious talent. She might just be a stronger director as opposed to a writer, or maybe sometime in the near future I'll feel like a fucking fool. It shall be given a 5 from me.
You're not wrong, Walter. You're just an asshole.
Okay, then.
Finally, Edgar Wright has returned. His latest film, 5G Zombies, starring Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, is a callback to his Shaun of the Dead roots. It's horror with silliness and a heart. Last Night in Soho. Now, being that Edgar Wright is a classy man of classic tastes, I was expecting to get something Dario Argento or maybe Hitchcock. Maybe Polanski, maybe something like Eyes Without a Face or The Brood, but I didn't expect this. That's alright, Edgar can make whatever movie he would like to. What the shame about it is, it's pretty paint by number. I really do appreciate the themes of trauma and sexism, or rather the opaque attempt at capturing it in a forthright way, but this kind of goes against what Edgar Wright seems to stand for, which is not conforming to typical structures. Hot Fuzz especially was a film that was very keen on dismantling tired beats in action and thriller movies. This film prioritized everyone's favorite and infinitely effective tactic of horror, jump scares. Peekaboo! Which indicates to me that either Edgar thought that this was the only way the movie could have made money, or he genuinely went the lazy route. The jump scares feel ill-matched with the rest of the movie, and the horror aspects could have definitely been more like what Edgar was taking inspiration from. I am not even really all that sure what Wright's direction brought to the genre. This could have been a James Wan film, an Andy Muschietti film. Out of all people, I wouldn't guess that Edgar Wright did it. The performances from Thomasin McKenzie and Anya Taylor-Joy, as well as Matt Smith, did assist in making the film bearable, in addition to the first act, which showed the most narrative promise. But the try-hard and broken-feeling plot twists and payoffs made the movie a pretty big letdown. Big stretches of time are spent on red herrings and trivial meandering, and it feels like it's experimenting with what the hell it wants to be until finally it topples over with disingenuousness and hollowness. There was some nice music, there was some fun color and lighting arrangements. The production design didn't feel all that lived in, but for what it's worth, I loved the technical authenticity of it. Sometimes they just can't all be winners. It's a swing and a miss, but Edgar Wright has made some fantastic movies, and one slip up, hey, E for effort. It could have been a failure instead. 4 out of 10. I'm gonna fucking kill you! Well, that does it for the first episode of PROFUSE. Thank you for holding out for me and being patient with the reviews. I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. I'd like to make more artsy stuff. Uncle Travis Part 3 is in the works for Christmas. I feel like the Cat in the Hat balancing all this shit without elephant tranquilizer. I will see you again very soon.